Transparency by Penny Peirce, ZZStar Book Club here. We're going to continue on with this chapter on the temptation to backslide because I think it's really important to get this information out there. I highly recommend this book, and her other book is called Frequency. So this is going to be a long one. I'm going to just go with it. Okay, so global transparency begins with one person, you. You must know how to work with the clearing process, how it oscillates, and how you naturally rock back and forth between opacity and transparency. The more you choose transparency and face and transmute your fears, the longer you remain transparent. Let's break this down a little bit. Opacity, the physical world; transparency, the spiritual world, in a nutshell. There's more to it than that, but we'll take that as a definition for this next part, right? So in the previous video, I write about when you talk about transformation to new people, since you're in a process of clearing your own clutter, you can be tripped up by sudden negative occurrences and dramas in your life. Moving to number 3 here. Since everyone else is clearing their clutter too, you can be inundated by the increasing negativity in the world. When you notice other people dealing with their own traumas and challenges, yours may overlap with them. In other words, a similar issue may surface for you as well, but in a different area of your life. It's important not to separate your reality into me and them, but instead use everything you notice as fodder for your own clarification process. Your increasing ultrasensitivity can cause you to be extra disturbed by the chaos in the world. You may feel you need to withdraw and to be alone or distance yourself with an addiction. You may feel pressured to make sense of overwhelming amount of linear data and non-linear energy information you're receiving. You may also feel the need to rescue others from their suffering. When you merge with others, you can be fooled into feeling that their pain is your pain. And if you constantly pay attention to others and not to yourself, you'll feel drained and exhausted. Remember, you have your own center and your own home frequency. That puts everything in perspective for you. You can access information from the field around you and then check to see with your own intuition if it makes sense. If you forget that you know how to be clear and that others have their own clearing process, you will backslide. So one of the things that I want to mention in here is that she's always talking about your home frequency. If you don't know what your home frequency is, that is your number one priority on your spiritual journey. What is your home frequency? What is your soul signature? You need to know how to center yourself in your own soul signature, in your own home frequency, in order to stabilize in the world around you. Instead of being overwhelmed by other people's emotions and their dramas and the distractions of the world, you need to know how to focus on your own home frequency. If you don't know how to do that yet, there are millions of tools out there. I highly recommend the Awakening Your Light Body course by Oren and Daben, which I teach. I took it 20 years ago. I've been teaching it for 12 years. It is an incredible course of transformation that specifically designed to teach you your home frequency and how to access your multidimensional gifts and your extrasensory perception so you can navigate this world of opacity by seeing underneath the physical form, by sensing into the energy that's beneath the physicality of life. So let's go on. Number 5. It may take several rounds to clear each chunk of clutter as you learn not to indulge in negative thinking. You may become discouraged or impatient, thinking, didn't I do that already? Why is this happening again? If you think this way, you backslide. Remind yourself that you didn't do anything wrong. It's just that some patterns run deep, and the belief in them is long-standing. You may clear them in layers. Be patient and extra kind with yourself. Stay with what arises in each moment and honor the fact that it's surfacing. Each time something surfaces, it's new. When you finally clear it, it won't come back with the same charge. You'll feel neutral or even bored with the issue, and you'll have more vitality within your being. If you look at the transparency process from a left brain viewpoint, transforming the world's consciousness may seem like an impossible and disheartening task because the left brain perceives in a linear fashion. It sees transparency and transformation as a process moving in stages from past to future through time and space. But transparency is a state of being that's natural to the soul, and it underlies the crazy assumptions that we've bought into concerning life on earth. It is already everywhere. It is the predominant reality. Transparency has the real power. Again, transparency, spiritual realm, opacity, physical realm. Transparency has the real power. The transformation of the planet to a transparent reality will occur in the vast present moment through non-linear means, and the attainment of critical mass of people that tip the scales all at once. That's you and me, babies. You can't figure it out or project its date of occurrence. Don't project ahead of time and fall into disappointment or despair over the impossibility of it all, or you backslide. Before I go on, I want to share with you a dream that I had. This is reminding me of a dream that I had several years ago. I was in that space right before falling asleep, light sleep. It was a vision. And I was walking through a crowd. This is way before our current president and all of the madness that is ensuing. This was probably a good 5 or 6 years before. But I was walking through an outside venue with a stage, and there were people up on the stage. And the people that were listening, the audience that was listening, they were all seated on the lawn, and they were looking up at this person on the stage and in awe, and they were listening to the rhetoric of separation. Us versus them. These people are bad and horrible. You guys are the awesome people, and these people have to be eliminated. That kind of rhetoric was going on. And I was walking through this crowd, and everybody's eyes were kind of like glazed over in agreement with the speaker. And I was irate. I got so angry in this dream that I said, "What is wrong with you people? Why are you still listening to this bullshit? Can't you see that we're all one? Why are you still listening? Wake up!" And in the dream, I screamed, "Wake up." And what happened was like this. Every single one of them shook off the dream, shook off the hypnosis that they were under through listening to these lies of separation. And they all just got up and they walked away. And it was like inner peace. And in that moment, I woke up out of the dream in my bedroom. And I woke up out of the dream, and I saw with my inner vision this giant head of light over my bed. It was this giant blue head of light. And I just got the telepathic message directly into my brain that said, it can happen just like that. It can happen just like that. The awakening on planet Earth can happen just like that, because the reality of it is that we are spiritual beings. We are all one. We have the creative power of divinity within us, and the idea of separation, the belief in separation, the perception of a separate reality is the false reality, is the dream, is the illusion of separation. And so as we all wake up, as we all do the work of transforming our own individual lives and moving through the clutter and dissolving the beliefs, we are in actuality clearing this from the collective. We are clearing this from the collective because we are part of the collective. That is why we came here. That is why we are called into this work. That is why we are the seekers. That is why we are in tune with this kind of information, because inherently we already know it. It's just about remembering, and it's about clearing the veils of our own consciousness so that we can experience the reality of the spiritual realm, the transparent realm. Not only experience it, but also be the portal for it, be the acupuncture needle point for it, for the earth. Okay, going back in. One more little clip here. Number 7. You may underestimate the value of achieving your own transparency. Again, when seen from the left brain point of view, one person becoming transparent in a sea of opaque people seems like nothing, an event with no impact. Ironically, it's just the opposite. Since all other beings exist inside your sphere, when you become clear, they become clear to some degree. You telepathically communicate this view of them instantly through time and space, which helps motivate them. When more individuals become clear and include each other, the idea of mass transparency becomes normal. That's so good. I want to break it down again. I'm going to read that one again. You may underestimate the value of achieving your own transparency, your own spiritual enlightenment. When seen from the left brain point of view, one person becoming transparent in a sea of opaque people seems like nothing, an event with no impact. Because as we read earlier, the left brain compartmentalizes. It sees in separation. It sees in isolation. Not true. The fact is, on the right side of the brain, we see our oneness. We perceive our oneness. Since all other beings exist inside your sphere, we are all one with each other. When you become clear, when each of us individually becomes clear in our consciousness, becomes transparent, becomes aligned to the spiritual realm, sees the divinity within ourselves, sees the divinity within others, sees the oneness, perceives it, feels it, knows it, this emanates out telepathically through our presence. We perceive the asshole as part of divinity, and the asshole begins to perceive itself as part of divinity because we're holding up that reflection. And so the asshole can transform and become more clear because suddenly, through our presence of seeing their spark of divinity, they're able to see it in themselves, or they feel what we perceive, and it sparks the question. It sparks the journey. When more individuals become clear and include each other, the idea of mass transparency becomes normal. Amen.